Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of Tilted Talk. As you guys know the drill, it is Throoper, once again joined by my co-host, Throoper. He was away last week in Boston casting gears, so he was at that really cool event, but he's back. So we've got another great episode lined up for you guys. Unfortunately, we don't have an interview this week. Couldn't get anybody to come on the show. Timing didn't work out, but if you guys have anybody that you want to see, please ping them. Tweet at them, message them, go, hey, you guys should go on Tilted Talk, and maybe we'll get them on for you next week. Let us know, too, who you want to see on, and we'll try our best to make that happen. As usual, we're going to start off with the patch notes. This is about a week late now because there's no patch coming out today, so we'll quickly go over patch 8.5 from last week, but not too much to go on. I actually am really happy with this patch because they didn't add anything new into the game. They just got into the bug fixes. So let's kick off with that. Essentially, not a whole lot came out. I think the biggest thing that actually did happen was that the ghost sounds are now gone from the game. So there's not going to be any more hearing of footsteps or reloading or bullets when there's not actually that happening. And, you and I have both complained numerous times on the show about the sound. So I think that's actually a huge change.
Yeah, it's like well overdue just because I feel like it's a problem that's been compiling. It had minor issues, and then every update there seems to be a new issue that pertain to it, and now it's just a stacked like an overload amount of audio fixes that are really needed, and it's something that people are begging for, especially with competitive. I mean, if they're limited to their vision with the field of view problem, then people are saying we need at least to be able to have perfect audio. I mean, for most competitive shooters, that's a gimme. That's something that is an absolute necessity. So it's something that I think needs to be a top priority for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, I've played a little bit this past week, and I've actually been pleasantly surprised. The sound does sound significantly better. So I'm really happy with that. But I think, the biggest news from this patch, honestly, is the fact that there's not huge news from this patch. The fact that, now that World Cup qualifiers are in full swing, they've actually left the game.
I'm glad you said that. Keep going, but I'm going to mention that, but I'm glad you said that.
They've basically left the game alone, which is gigantic because, honestly, when you have people trying to qualify for the World Cup, putting their, heart and soul into practice and really doing their best to make it into the game, for them to actually, open up the patch notes and go, oh my God, it's the same game. Like they fixed a few things, sure, but those are all quality of life improvements, right? It's not going to affect how your practice or what you've been doing up until this point. So I think that is gigantic news and honestly a very positive step from Epic.
Exactly, and you mentioned that it's a pretty much a non-content patch. It's a lack of severity or of whatever they're going to be adding into it. A very minor patch or nothing in terms of what's coming this week, and that's a good thing because we've been getting content every single week. We've been getting bug fixes every single week, or I mean, not even really not the most sought after bug fixes for the community, but definitely ones that were on the agenda, ones that might be easier for Epic to fix on their end, ones that take less time. But it's not a bad thing that there's less coming out this week because I believe they're just busting their ass right now trying to get all of these main fixes done, which is not a problem at all. I mean, if that's going to take a couple of weeks, then by all means let that happen, because I was saying that, I've been saying that for a while, that if I believe we had talked about this on one of our earlier episodes, that if they had done patches every other week, monthly even, there might be more room to allocate resources within the back-end team to try and fix a lot of these main bugs rather than trying to essentially stay ahead of their own bugs that they're creating with all the new content that they're adding.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, anybody who's done any amount of coding, I don't claim to be a coding expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I do know that almost every time you add something, you end up breaking something or something goes wonky and it doesn't go exactly as planned. So I think this, week of respite for not only the players, but for the developers to really catch up and fix some things that were longstanding issues like the sound. I think that's gigantic. And I think a lot of players are going to appreciate that this weekend, or appreciated it last weekend, because this patch is now a week old. This weekend, there does seem to be a new grenade coming in. They hinted at some like new mystery stealth grenade type thing. So I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's a grenade that you throw at your feet and makes you invisible, I don't know what to say. That's basically like an active camo for the.
I hate I hate being that guy that craps on things before it comes out, but
Right, right.
I already don't like the sound of this because if it's what I think and it has something to do with like how the shadow stones worked, I want nothing to do with this thing in the game again. I think those things were just the worst. I mean, I don't even know. Those might have been worse than planes, in my opinion, and I'm not kidding.
No,
Those things were ridiculous.
they were.
You could be invisible. You could fly until you turned it off. You were pretty quiet. Like there was a sound that emitted from you, but let's be honest, with all the sound issues, you could barely freaking hear them coming. So there
Yeah.
was so many problems with those things. I never liked those things at all. I hated them. So if this is the effect of that, but into a grenade, essentially a grenade you would use, I guess, on yourself, or I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know
That's
how
the thing. It doesn't sound like it's practical. So I could be wrong. I hope it's not like the Shadow Stones, but I guess we'll have to find out and see until they release a trailer for it, perhaps, or a teaser.
Yeah, yeah. I'm assuming that'll come out tonight. I know the patch goes live at 5 a.m. Eastern tomorrow.
Mhm.
But until then, we obviously, we're just kind of speaking and without any information here. We're kind of speculating just based on the one picture that we've seen.
Yeah.
Honestly, I could see it being useful though if you're in like a 1-by-1 and you're getting shot at, you're getting pressured, you just throw the nade at your feet, turn invisible or whatever it does, and then kind of just walk out of there without being noticed.
Yeah.
I don't know. We can't really comment on it too much until it comes out, so that'll have to be a discussion for next week after, it's been out for a week and we've seen the competitive players see it, but I'm already just hearing the reaction in my head from the competitive community, and it's not. I don't think it's going to be entirely positive, but hey, we'll see. I'd be happy to be wrong in the situation, right? It's one of those where it's like, if I'm wrong, I'm just as happy as if I'm right.
It's funny because at this point you can't. If you're a competitive player, you just have to expect that. Okay, that's what I got to deal with this week. That's what I have to adjust to this week. Because like, I'm not talking about the casual fan base. That's different. Content creators, that's different. But competitive players, when's the last time that they were happy of something, a new item that was put in the game? Because I can't, like, a new item that they were introduced that the competitive community didn't just crap all over or like immediately reject. I feel like that's been a long time since that's happened. I could be wrong, but it definitely feels that way. And you could tell, and that reaction is because they want a simpler game. They want something that they can all practice on, and they want to be able to at least know what they're going to expect before events. But clearly I mean, you have to, at this point, you have to take a lot of this stuff in stride and just when a new item comes out, study the crap out of that item, because odds are you're probably going to die to it at least a couple times in scrims for people that have done their research and that maybe already using them in creative ways. I've seen so many things introduced into the game that I'm like, I wonder how that could be utilized. That might not be the most practical. And then you'll see a clip 6 hours after the patch of some dude doing the most ridiculous 200 IQ play with the new item. So it's that's the thing. We're the testing grounds for a lot of this stuff. So you gotta be prepared for whatever you're gonna get.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the amount of players that play, right? They're going to figure out really cool ways to. And like you said, I mean, I think it took all of a couple of hours for that play you called with the flint knock pistol to actually be a thing and somebody to pull that off. You're like, I think somebody could use it like this. That might be pretty cool. And sure enough, an hour later, that's exactly what somebody's doing with it. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see what the competitive community has to say about next week's patch. Hopefully it's another small one. I mean, if it's just one small grenade, I don't know. I think they still need to get rid of ballers, but that's a side story. Another thing from this patch that was actually pretty big was with creative. They added rounds, and they increased the party size. So you could actually, have a much bigger group of people playing now.
I like that. That's
really, really big for competitive
screenshots
players.
of the lobbies full of people with nothing but banana skins it will haunt my nightmares. It's in a good way. It's oddly satisfying though. It's really interesting because if you that's just going to make customs a lot easier. It's going to open the opportunity for a lot more just not content in general, but I think it opens the door for a lot more a lot of different practice grounds that people can start working on. And I love the system. I think it's going to be great, especially for the big team game modes and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Only unfortunate thing is a lot of people are probably like, I barely have like a couple friends. Where am I going to get enough to fill up the 16 party? But that's why they have the squad system, so you can merge squads together. So I'm definitely going to be looking to try and get one of those massive teams pretty soon.
Yeah, I think it's just really, really big for the upper tier players. They can now set up lobbies with just 16 of their like really high skill cap
Yeah.
players and just practice that end game. And obviously,
Yep.
the end games we've been seeing in the World Cup, and this is a good segue into the World Cup section. But the end games we've been seeing have been absolutely ridiculous. Like I don't know how else to describe them. I mean, you basically have half the lobby alive when there's like on the second last circle before the circle starts moving with the storm, or it's absolutely nuts.
Yep.
So it won't be quite as chaotic as that necessarily, but you'll still be able to set up pretty good end game scenarios, have everybody really, practicing on all that sort of stuff. And I think that will alleviate a major concern for a lot of competitive players because that was one of the big gripes, one of the big issues they've been having is how do we practice effectively and efficiently? And this kind of gives them a way to do that. At least it's not perfect, but it's a start, right? So I think that's really, really important and really, really big. But that being said, we did have World Cup solo action this weekend again, obviously, and we love Bala. Shout out to him, but I think you were right, Trooper. I think you were right. I think we had some players qualify this week that at least I had no idea who they were. I mean, if you look at like the guy Lukey who won Europe, his best placing was like 68th or something or 78th at in the Blackheart Cup, and then he came like top 150 or top 200 in the last qualifiers, like the duo qualifiers last week. So it's like there's players here that definitely are not on a lot of people's radars. I mean, a lot of the people who won this week don't have orcs. They're not represented. They're not, major. They don't have big followings on Twitter. They don't have big followings anywhere really. And all of a sudden, they're now going to New York and they won quite a bit of money and they're en route to winning even more money. So it's pretty crazy. I mean, but the other thing then is on the opposite end of that spectrum, somebody who I think we all agreed was not going to make it was Tfue because he's just more concerned with streaming and creating content. But we were wrong. We were wrong.
Absolutely.
Man managed to get himself in. So I think we have graphics for all the different regions here. And just who qualified, so we can kind of take a look through those players. And I'd love to hear from the chat and from everybody who's just watching.
Let me and Trooper just specify, just to clear the air. Not that we never thought Tfue could not qualify for this. It's really like if he cared enough, then he could have. Like he actually did put the work in, and we were saying like, it really when at the end of the day, was it the most lucrative idea for him to do? But you know what? I mean, he had 200,000 people watching him qualify for this bad boy. So yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a more lucrative decision for him to qualify, baby.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things too where it just makes sense, right? Like for his brand, it's like same with Ninja. They're known as some of the absolute top players. So it was pretty imperative for them to qualify. I'm not sure if you've seen this reaction though from him qualifying. It was actually hilarious.
Yes.
So he does manage to see he's like in this little storm, and look how many players are still left when the storm is this big. Like it's absolutely ridiculous.
That's nutty.
But he gets it here, and you see him jump out the window. Hang out with his friends. His dog is quite upset. He's been left alone. And the champagne there for the win. Just gonna throw it into.
Beautiful.
I mean, hey, right? When you qualified, you've got 200,000 people watching you the whole time. Not only is that great entertainment, not only does that make for a great Twitch clip and a great YouTube clip, but also, I mean, the man's now en route to New York. He gets to go there, play for all that money, compete, and that's only going to help his brand. So congratulations to him. Like you said, we did doubt the skill. We just doubted if he was actually going to put in the effort and the time necessary to do it. But it looks like that is exactly what he did.
Absolutely.
So shout out to him.
Well, more than well deserved. I mean, everybody knows Tfue, and it wouldn't have been a World Cup without Tfue in it. Let's be real. I mean, he's at the top of his game right now, and he's probably the most recognizable player aside from Ninja. So, I'm praying we see all those big names. We need to see them all in this World Cup because that's just where all the questions are going to be answered.
Yeah, but I mean, some of these other guys, like we had FaZe Funk, so 2 members of FaZe qualifying in solos this week. But some of the other guys, like Rise, he's from Toronto. Nobody really knew who he was. I mean, he's from my city. I wasn't even wasn't really too aware of who he was.
You're not checking out the Fortnite bars in your area, man. Come on, man.
I go to the Hive. I haven't seen him there. And we also have Psalm from CLG.
Yeah.
So we had a couple big names, but
isn't he the legend that went nuts with the blade in the Winter Royale?
I believe so.
Yeah, I'll never forget that, man. For doing that. I mean, you can't hate him.
Will you ever forgive him?
Well, of course. Will I ever forgive Epic though? I guess that's the question.
that old adage.
You can't
right?
beat
Don't
it
hate
if
the
you can't
player.
beat them. Join them. So
Yeah, yeah, you can't hate the player for just using what's in the game, right? So,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, then we had, from NA West, we had Epic Whale, who is on Kungarna, representing Kungarna, but he is actually looking for an org. We also had Liquid, we had Ghost, so we had a couple, relatively known names in those top positions, but they did not qualify. So again, Epic Whale said, according to his Twitter, he's still looking for an org. He was
Yeah.
just representing Kungarna that week, or maybe he still is. I'm not entirely sure, but he did post after qualifying that he was looking for an org to represent. So clearly he wants a bigger paycheck, and I think that is entirely warranted after that performance. I think we have a video actually of some of his clips from the weekend. It was absolutely nuts. Like, this guy is. I mean, I never watched him stream before. I never watched him play before. I've seen his name a couple times, but good God, man, this guy is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, he's I mean, when you're in this level, I mean, it's on the NA West too, so you do have I believe there's that smaller window for qualification too, which makes it even more difficult. So you have a lot.
Players.
Yeah, you have a lot of different things coming into play just like that. So man, this is the moment. This is the moment of the game where I don't know if I can hang. Look at the expert. Look at that. Just go, like, screw it. I'm gonna go completely out. Retake high. Look at how smart that play was. Completely leaving, eating all the health. Oh, still having the redeploy too. Amazing. Look at that.
That's the kill. Yeah, I mean, it was just unbelievable. That guy just put on a show all weekend long. And yeah, like you said, I mean, NA West has so many fewer qualification spots open, right? I know Hysteria tweeted about it originally that just there's only one duo that qualifies, and there's only 2 solos that qualify per week. So you literally have to be at the very top of the region. And I mean, the West Coast of America is a big place. There's a lot of people on the West Coast. Like, the East Coast might have more players, but the West Coast is not a small player base by any stretch of the imagination. So, I mean, to come out on top of that, that tells you everything you need to know. These guys are definitely feeling good about themselves, and hopefully an org picks them up. Honestly, it would be. I mean, that's what we've spoken about this before, but that's what we want for these players, right? Like, you use this. You use this placing, you use this qualification event as a way to catapult yourself into streaming, into representing bigger orgs, and turning this into a really viable career for yourself, which is, with the amount of skill and talent and dedication these guys have put in, I don't see why they don't get compensated. So really, really happy for him, and I hope he finds an org that he's happy to represent.
Yeah, and as far as everybody goes too, you got to be careful. Make sure that the org is definitely going to help your brand too. You don't want to just sign a contract willy nilly. Make sure that you always look out for yourself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think, with that being said, there's actually I forget if it's Bryce Blum or Morrison, but one of the esports lawyers basically has tweeted out multiple times that if you are new to the esports scene and it's your first rodeo, so to speak, you're more than welcome to send him a contract. He'll review it for free and make sure that you're covered, make sure that, you're not getting taken advantage of. So I definitely recommend, you do that if you're a player that's kind of in that situation, because reading legal lingo can be tricky, and sometimes they sneak things in there and it's, not exactly what you think it is. So make sure that you have that contract reviewed by somebody who really understands contracts, and make sure that, like you just said, Tyler, that you're not getting taken advantage of, and that the org helps you as much as you're helping them, because there's no doubt that you're going to be helping them quite a lot.
Without a doubt. Yeah. You just don't want to sign a piece of paper and then give away 30%, 40% of your tournament winnings, when you're such a high caliber player, and you don't necessarily need an org more than they need you, So you definitely got to just got to be smart about it. Talk to people, do not jump into conclusions just because somebody hits up your DMs and they made a Twitter account and then went into paint or not even paint, straight up stole someone else's logo and then made it the road and said, "Hey, here's my company," and then put CEO in their bio. Don't fall for that trick, please. There is way too much of that in esports. Luckily, that authenticity, like we're hashing those types of people out, so it's easier to now than it was before. But just be careful out there.
Yeah, definitely. But again, those guys, at least they're recognizable names. So
yes,
that's a bit of a difference. But when we go to South America, it's kind of a different story again. I mean, you had, they're definitely recognizable to the players at the top level. Let me rephrase this. I'm saying that when I'm saying a player is not recognizable, I'm saying it for the general fan base, the general population that is a fan of competitive Fortnite. Not like casual players don't know anybody but Tfue and Ninja, so I'm not talking about them necessarily. Obviously, if you're scrimming at the highest level in your region, you are going to recognize a lot of these names. These are going to be players that you know and are familiar with. But for somebody who just watches some Fortnite streams a couple times a week and likes to play the game competitively but isn't at that caliber of player. These are some relatively unknown names, and you see like Kurtz in South America, his best placing. I mean, he got top 30, 27th, I think, in the first World Cup solo qualifier. But other than that, I mean, he got top 50 at the World Cup warm up. So it's not like this guy's been, a top 10 player. Lasers, on the other hand, did get 8th in the gauntlet. But even for him, aside from that, he's never played another official solo event. And all of his duo events, he's come outside of the top 25. His best placing was actually 38th. So this is what is so exciting for me. And I know we've talked about this before, but it's just like the amount of people that are going to be able to make their names during this event. And I think that's exactly what Epic wanted, right? Which, if I was going to go all conspiracy theory on everybody, it's kind of like, well, maybe this is why Epic's making so many interesting changes. They want to have players launch their career through Fortnite, feel like they owe Fortnite something, and really build that long-term loyalty with new people. Because obviously for somebody like Ninja or Tfue or, Shroud or any of these gigantic streamers who have massive followings, and obviously they're supremely talented players. That's why they got these followings in the first place. But you're not really going to be able to keep a player like that around if your game isn't the top of the Twitch charts, because they're going to play whatever is, because that's what their audience wants to see, and that's what's the most lucrative for them, right? But some of these younger players or people who are not as experienced, that was the other thing, is a lot of these players are like 14, which is crazy.
Insane.
Like the fact that you have a chance to win this much money at the age of 14, like, oh my God. I mean, these kids' parents have got to seriously be reconsidering what they told them for the first 10 years of your life. Go to school, do your homework. Video games aren't going to help you.
Yep.
Well, Mom.
Now it's changed to school. School's not, or Fortnite's definitely the focus. School's not going anywhere. You got to focus on Fortnite.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, stay in school, kids. Don't drop out. But at the same time, like, if you're this good, you should definitely be putting every ounce of energy that you have apart from school into this game, because it's real, man. You're seeing people qualify every week, and it's just so cool. It's such an uplifting story. I mean, we haven't seen Aspect qualify or Animal yet. So that was kind of disappointing. I thought one of them was surely going to qualify this week, because they're just both such talented players. And obviously Aspect came on last week. So we're rooting for you, buddy. But, hopefully in the next couple weeks, we'll see him qualify. Is there anybody else that you really want to see qualify that we haven't yet?
For the most part, it's still really up in the air right now. I don't have my eyes set on any one in particular right now. I think with it now only being 3 weeks into the qualifiers, right now is where we're starting to see more of a picture form of who has and obviously who hasn't qualified, but those players that are consistently getting closer and closer. That's the main key for Fortnite, because that's where you have to look for that consistency, because it's such a rarity that when you find the players that are the most consistent, those are the ones that are they're so hard to come by. Like you see, like somebody like Ghost Bizzle. Ghost Bizzle is a guy who is straight up consistent when it comes to his gameplay. So he's the kind of guy that when he goes out there and he plays at the top level, as long as everything, he knows where his positioning is supposed to be towards the end game, and all of those types of little things that he knows, and all of his skills all roll up into a perfect package. And it's something that's too hard to really combat against, no matter how long you've been playing the game. There's so many people that just see the game a different way. So it's so hard. It's all about that perspective thing. So it really depends how, not only your play style, what kind of player you are too, how that all comes together. So I think that the whole story now in these next, like, give it past the halfway point. Once we're past week 5, we're going to see so many names that we've been seeing already that are still, I think, trying to qualify, and then ones that obviously have. But I can't wait to see to talk about that story. Once we get more into the tail end of the qualifiers, who's on that cusp, and it's I think when it comes down to that, it's just going to be the poor luck, poor RNG, as much as I hate to say, because there are a lot of people that get very far and then end up towards the end of the tournaments or the end of the actual cups or anything like that. They kind of taper off their hype dies down a little bit, and it gets a little bit more difficult. Then they end up not qualifying. So, yeah, it's all about the consistency. You got to stay throughout. It's way, way, way easier said than done.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you got to stay focused too, right? You can't get tilted. That's something we've discussed before. But I know we had the Europe graphic up on the screen. And that's another reason I want to talk about really fast, because Lukey, the guy who won Europe this week, I mean, again, his best placing was 62nd at the Blackheart Cup. And then top like 160th or something last week
Mm-hmm.
in duos. So I mean, this is not somebody, as far as I'm aware, he's never competed in another official tournament other than those. So it's like it's just people coming out of left, right, and center here. Some of the like Left Eye who came in second, he's done a lot better. He's coming 10th at the Cooler Cup, but still, I mean, we're seeing a lot of players who are not consistent top 10 finishers who are qualifying right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one, caveat to that was T-Shub, Tchub,
Mm-hmm.
from Europe. He's, came second in the World Cup warm-up, came second in the Scallywag Cup. He still hasn't won a tournament, but coming second in Fortnite, I mean, that's very, very impressive as well. But apart from him, there really wasn't anybody from the region that was like, oh, okay, I know this guy very, very well, and I've seen what he can do. So I guess that's a lie. A couple of the lower placing guys did do all right, like LeBlum, Lol Boom. I don't know, guys. Some of your names are too hard. I say this every week, but like, unless your name is one word that's in like an English word that's very easy, like aspect or animal or something, where I'm like, I know what that word is. I'm probably gonna mispronounce it, and I apologize.
Once we go into the Brazil, the Asia, and all those regions, it gets a little too difficult for me too.
Well, one of the guys from Asia who he either qualified or he was like just outside of the qualification, but his name is just all Asian characters. Like I don't even know what languages. I don't know if it's Chinese or Korean or you know what I mean. Like
yeah,
it's like I have no idea what that word is, and congratulations to you, but it's not something I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I mean, unless we have somebody who's fluent in the chat that could help us out with that, yeah, there's no chance that's happening.
Yeah, but I mean, hey guys, if you want to be a translator for the show, hit us up. We could use the help maybe potentially. Definitely.
Yeah, especially if we're gonna have more names like this coming through. That player doesn't even have a history, I believe, as far as the game goes, in terms of placement.
Yeah, he came in fourth. But from Europe, we had Bani and Takamura. Bani is, I think, somebody that we've seen quite a bit of. Yeah, so he's done really, really well in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he came first in the Gauntlet, the Asian Gauntlet. He came second in the World Cup warm-up, second in the Duo Gauntlet, and the Duo World Cup warm-up, I should say. Second in the Blackheart Cup in solos, first in the Asian Gauntlet for solos, like I've mentioned. So this guy is an actual, he's a beast. So that's definitely one of the top players from Asia who's now gotten himself that trip to New York. So I mean, the thing that I'm super excited to see once we have all these players at the World Cup is just what region really does reign supreme. Because obviously, there's different size player bases, there's different competitive communities all over the world, but how do they rank up against each other? And the other thing I'm interested to see, because I haven't watched too many of the Asian qualifiers, to be honest with you. I've just seen a couple of clips from it, but I haven't actually watched full games. I wonder how different the meta is, because I know, for example, in like League of Legends, like Korea's super methodical. China is just like, if we can't win the game in the first 5 minutes, we're forfeiting. Like it's like the craziest, like most like absolute like level 2 strat you've ever seen, and then if it doesn't work, they're like, well, GG. And then North America is kind of somewhere in the. North America's trash. Europe's like kind of somewhere in the middle where they're good, aggressive. Like, yeah, and hey man, I'm North American. I wish that wasn't the case, but I wish that wasn't the case. Trust me. So I'm hoping for Fortnite's sake. We usually do fairly well in FPS games, so I'm hoping NA will rank up and kind of really prove ourselves here at the World Cup. But yeah, there's a lot of big names, and I mean, it's just so exciting to watch all these games too. Just the way the end games end up working out, like we mentioned, is just so chaotic, so hectic. If you guys haven't been watching the World Cup action, I don't know what you're doing with your weekends, but you're not having as much fun as you could be. I'm telling you that right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the broadcasts are getting better and better every week for because now the spectator tools are improving as well. Everything's getting better and better, and now I believe they're giving us the opportunity to go back and watch all of the all of the replays as well too.
Yes, actually, so that was something from the patch that came out that we didn't mention, but now you can actually go back and watch all the tournament VODs as long as the player was in the game for 10 minutes. Yep. So if they died really fast, you can't watch that game, but if they were in the game, they made it to the end game, or at least like towards the end game. Excuse me, you'll be able to go back and watch that VOD. So if you're a player who's trying to improve, that's definitely something worth doing. And who knows, maybe we'll do a quick VOD review or two at some point. Probably not on the show live, but we might release like a video of some sort and kind of get that for you guys, because I think that would be pretty cool. Although Bala is the king of that, so we might need his permission to.
Don't want to step on any toes.
we might need some permission to do that, but hey, maybe we could get him to come in and help us with that. That would be kind of cool.
I'm sure he has his plate full of VODs too.
Absolutely,
just
absolutely.
himself.
But the casters are, getting better as well because they're getting more used to casting Fortnite. I mean, Fortnite still, in terms of being broadcasted and having, the dedicated talent to it, it's still in its infancy, right? People are still learning how to cast Fortnite. It's not like a game like Gears or Halo that's been out for a decade and people kind of have, this is what people like, this is what people don't like. We know how to do it. They're still trying to figure that out on the fly, right? So huge shout out to the whole production team and, all the broadcast talent. We both know how tricky it is to broadcast anything, and never mind, a game as chaotic and absolutely nutso as Fortnite endgames can be. And I love the fact too that they basically hop between all the different endgames. So you're never like watching the first 5 minutes of a game where people are just swinging their pickaxe at trees and stuff. You don't have to see that.
You get the best of the best.
Yeah, you're just getting the absolute best gameplay. So honestly, for all the flack Epic has gotten recently, and unfortunately that is kind of, our next subject is a little bit not the most positive either for them. We'll give them a really positive shout out here, and that their production has been, top notch. I really love the format that they've set up. So kudos to them, and hope that continues. But with the World Cup action from last week kind of out of the way here, let's get into some of our hot takes. So there is two major pieces of news I'm talking about on major esports gaming websites all over the place that kind of came out. The first is about the devs themselves. And I think this kind of goes a little bit into what we were saying with like the patches being every week, but there's reports that some of these devs have been working 70 to 100-hour weeks for months on end.
Mhm.
Now, for one, that's insanity. Like, shout out to those guys for even putting in those kinds of hours. I mean, that's kind of crazy. But this is something I wanted to talk about because this is, esports has shaped this, and video games have kind of evolved to this kind of state where crunch time for a development company used to be right before the game came out, right? You'd have like a 2-month crunch. Okay, guys, the game's going to release 2 months today. We really need to go hard for these last 2 months. And everybody was kind of willing to do that because they could also see the big red X on their calendar when they knew it was going to go back to normalcy.
Right.
But with a game like Fortnite, I mean, the game has been out for a long time. That's not what that's not what is causing the crunch. What's causing it is the fact that they're trying to do these absolutely insanely detailed and extravagant patches every week where they're releasing new items and new skins and new game modes and all this sort of stuff. And it's just causing absolute, I don't know what the word for it is, but it's definitely like an overwork or an overbearing situation for some of these devs. So I wanted to hear your initial thoughts on this, because I know this has kind of been all over social media, all over the different, esports channels and that sort of stuff, the different websites, like I mentioned, like Kotaku, also Forbes actually released an article on it, which is definitely not what you want, and Polygon. So some big websites talking about this right now.
Well, they're working constantly. They're working nonstop seemingly, but that is the draw that comes with a company that makes $300 million a month right now. Their expectations right now are so high, and they're also trying to keep up every week, where when the game was first made, they constantly had these weekly updates. And before the game was bloated with a lot of items and had different server and performance issues, every week it seemed that there was fixes, there was content, and everything seemed fine. But now with how many skins, I'm sure they have to keep up with not only updates to the actual game weekly, but skins and cosmetics, gliders, and all that type of, all the creative work that goes into that, creating LTMs. Yeah, there's so many things like what was I going to say? Like applying or remodeling different POIs. There's small areas of the map, like always unannounced changes of the map too. That seems small, but all these things, they take time and they take effort. And when they definitely are doing this weekly, they have to. I can't imagine, to be a fly on the wall of a lot of those business meetings. What the whiteboards look like. Trying to figure a lot of this stuff out. I can't even imagine. So, yeah, definitely, I'm not surprised to hear about the crunch time that they've been working on, and I can tell, especially when it probably gets really rough. I would think like around the holiday, for sure. Right now, though, I mean, with this coming out, I mean, I don't know if that's something that they're fixing, that they fixed, that's still going on. I'm not sure, but either way, I mean, the company right now, they've shown that they've made more than enough money there, where I don't know if those types of I don't know if that kind of workload is going to be necessary, especially if, for one individual. There's definitely ways now that they can kind of let things breathe, or maybe take more time, a little bit more time to put effort, a little bit more additional effort now into the updates. Now that seemingly, they're the biggest game in the world right now, so I know that it's even tough to stay as the biggest game in the world. So that's probably
Yes.
why a lot of this work seems needed on their end. But you got to look out for your employees too. I'm not saying that, hey, maybe it's time to outsource some work, because that's not that's not the good thing. That's not the best thing for Epic to do. I'm just
No.
saying, for now, they gotta just keep an eye on employee morale. I think at this stage, I think they should look at everything kind of like in waves or in phases, essentially. And right now, they're at a really comfortable phase. Yeah, they're leading into the World Cup, and I'm sure that the hours are gonna get crazy. But you gotta look out. You gotta look out for longevity in your employees. I definitely don't want to see posts on Glassdoor.com in the next few months or whatever of people from Epic Games, talking about a terrible work environment. I don't think I don't think anybody ever wants to see or hear something like that. That's just a shame to hear about that,
No.
because on paper, that's like a dream job.
Of
And
course.
when you have people like that are working tirelessly and trying to bring out a game that's entertainment, something that we all love, you have to. It's hard to, or it's easy to forget that there are people on the other end of this that are, really, really busting their hump for this.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully with the World Cup, things will slow down a little bit for the developers, at least, because they're going to try and hopefully see more patches like the one we had last week, where it's mostly just some bug fixes. And but even that being said, they did release. I mean, we didn't talk about it, but that limited time mode with Thanos, like that, the amount of coding and the
I
amount of
liked
stuff
it.
they threw in that. Oh, it's fun.
It's
Don't get me wrong,
awesome.
it's super awesome. So again, shout out to the devs. You guys do God's work, but that was not let's make this in 5 minutes. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? That was a tough one for sure. So anyway, we'll see. But I really do like the fact that you said dream job, because that's something I wanted to talk about a little bit. It was kind of this dream job fallacy, in the sense that this is something I feel like a lot of employers can use in a lot of different situations. It doesn't just particularly pertain to devs in video games. It can pertain to a whole bunch of different industries. But if you have a really cool job where there's a lot of competition for that job, it's an awesome job to have theoretically, then you can kind of have employers go, well, hey, this is your dream job, isn't it? Don't you want to be making this game, this amazing, best game in the
Yep.
world? Like, you should be happy, you should be proud, you should be working harder. And while some of that's true, obviously, I mean, nothing awesome comes easy, right? Because if it was easy, everybody would do it, and then it wouldn't be so awesome anymore. But on the other hand, like you said, you do have to have a little bit of respect for your employees' time and their lives and their well-being. And um, honestly, it's like with how profitable Epic has been, you can hire some more people, make their lives a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that you hit on those words, because that was something that I did want to bring up. Um, and like we both have similar sorts of situations where we're pretty lucky with some of the stuff we get to do. And thankfully, I've never had that situation. Everybody that I've ever worked with has been awesome. I've never had somebody be like, "You have to do this for 17 hours straight because I told you to." But
Yeah.
no matter how cool what you're doing is, I could definitely see that something getting old very quickly. Like, no matter how much you love something, you don't want to do it for 15 hours a day, right? Or 12 hours a day,
Right.
or even 10 hours a day. Like, maybe for a couple days, you're like, yeah, let me do this for 10 hours a day. But I mean, past
Yeah.
age of like 15, I couldn't even play video games for 10 hours a day.
No, the burnout can be real and it can be quick.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
and you got to look into the employee morale, because I never believe into working your employees to death, because it's just when you have happier employees, I believe you get way better work, you get way more productivity.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, so I don't know what the solution is to this. Hopefully they can get themselves into the news for positive stuff again. I mean, I love what Epic's doing for the most part. So sure, this is a small thing, and just again to reiterate, they're not the only developer that has had these types of issues or had these problems or had problems in general. I mean, Riot Games is another developing studio. We won't get into it, but they've been in the news right now recently too for a whole lot of not so great stuff. So it's nothing's perfect, but hopefully, the attention that's been drawn to this can help them fix that problem. And sometimes it really is that you're just not even aware of it, right? You're just kind of, everybody's operating on momentum. You're just saying go, 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 and then it's only when a story like this breaks that you're like, oh wait, maybe we've been pushing people too hard.
That's
Like,
true.
it's entirely possible. And I usually go for the
It
simplest approach and try not to prescribe malicious intent unless it's absolutely evident that that is the case. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on this one.
It definitely becomes more of an eye opener once you read it in a headline.
Right.
It definitely becomes a little bit bigger of an eye opener. Like, wait a minute, maybe we should change some things.
Yeah, definitely. That's when you get the PR department too. Is like, hey guys, we need to maybe change a couple things here, and then generally that has an effect. So again, to all the Epic developers that have been working really, really hard to make this game so awesome and to push out all these updates, we can't thank you enough. Everybody is still very, very enthusiastic about the game overall. So it's it's really cool that you guys were willing to work that hard, and we appreciate it. And hopefully you get cut a little bit of slack. Like if it means a patch every other week, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And even regarding like any hate that they might get, on top of that pressure, like from the internet, and that's the only reason that people are that seem that way is just because they care so much about the game. That's the thing. They created something that people love so much, so that's why there are these constant debates and everything about the game, because everybody cares so much and they want to see it a certain way.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. If you made a trash product, you wouldn't be getting any hate because nobody would care. But the fact that you get so much hate, it goes back to that old adage again, right? This is just an adage show. We're throwing out all the one-liners, but it's like if you don't have haters, you're doing something wrong, right? Like, so.
For sure.
Anyway, shout out to those guys. The other big piece of news that was, honestly, the interview was hilarious. I'm not gonna lie, I laughed really hard when I first saw this. But the guys who won the CSL Fortnite Duos tournament, they quit. So they're from the University of Georgia. I don't know if I think we have this clip, and I would love to play it with the audio. Honestly, like I think if you guys haven't seen this, I'm hoping you've seen this. But if you haven't, you need to see this.
If we have it with audio, that'd be great.
Repping well. So final question. What's next for this duo? Another season, more tournaments, the online circuit? How's it going?
Honestly, we don't really like the game that much anymore. Not gonna lie, so we'll see what happens. Epic is kind of messing around a little bit with the way they're balancing everything, so.
I'm pulling the plug on that one. Give us a better answer here.
Well, we've decided we don't want to play like competitive Fortnite anymore, so we're gonna move on to different games or just probably like do different stuff.
Okay. So first of all, how do you feel? Because I mean, we've both been on the desk before. We've both done live events. How do you feel that interviewer handled that? Because I thought that was pretty good, honestly. He was like, he tried to save it. He's like, I gotta move the mic over. I don't want the developers getting mad at me. Let's give this to somebody. Let's give this to your duo partner. And then he kind of just reiterated the same thing. So I feel bad for that interviewer. First of all, shout out to him.
Yeah, I mean, not much
breaking down.
Not much you can do to salvage that. Really, they said what was in their heart. So I mean, that's straight up. They didn't sugarcoat it at all. But my buddy, we actually worked together with him in St. Louis, Spaceman, who was a caster with us. He casted this event, and he watched us from backstage when it happened. He said that the reaction was just like jaw dropping. It was mind blowing. I couldn't believe it when I saw the clip even. And man, yeah, I was reading comments, and some people called these guys legends too. There was a lot of that talk going around. So I'm wondering if these guys are actually going to stick to their guns.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I mean, it's one thing to kind of back out when you're on top, and it's a different thing to just be like a random person online who goes, "Oh, this game sucks, I quit," right? Versus the person who is, just won a tournament, clearly could use this to launchpad a career for themselves, and they're like, you know what, I'm just not enjoying this anymore.
Very true.
Things need to change, and this wasn't really working for me. So, Spaceman, I believe, is actually even in the Twitch chat. So,
oh, really?
Nice. Yeah.
What's happening, man?
Seen him post a couple times, but maybe we'll get him in here next week, get his take on it if he's not in class. School should be done.
Yeah, right.
Like, right? Am I this old that I don't know when school's done anymore? I don't know. But that was very, very interesting. I thought the interviewer handled it very well. But I can't believe they did that. I mean, we talked before about it's kind of presenting yourself well if you want to have an esports career and a brand and all that sort of thing. But honestly, I think sometimes honesty is the best policy. They might not have endeared themselves to Epic, but they definitely gained a whole lot of fans who saw that interview. I think it got like 500,000 views already.
Yeah,
it's over 500,000 views.
It blew up on Reddit too. Oh yeah.
So it's sad to see talented players though have that issue with the game, right? Because like what can Epic even do about things like this? They can't. I mean, obviously you want your players to talk afterwards. you don't want to give them some clause that says, if you say anything negative, blah, 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 we're stripping out. Like, you can't have that, right? Because then people
Yeah.
are going to be like, well, this is, somebody will leak that contract and that's just going to look worse for you. So ultimately, I think this just gets back to the debate and the conversations we've been having over the last few episodes in terms of just the game needs to be balanced appropriately for both the competitive and the casual community. And there needs to find a line there that I'm not entirely sure has been found yet. Hopefully it's coming in terms of being able to, split up the community or the different game types or what have you. But until that point, unfortunately, we might see this might not be the last of these types of clips, which makes me very sad because obviously Fortnite's super fun. It's a great game. I really enjoy playing it. I really enjoy watching it. I think I actually enjoy watching the competitive scene more than I enjoy playing it because I'm not that good.
Yeah.
So I don't want these guys to walk away. Like, I want them to keep playing. And these guys are really talented. I don't know if you saw any of the CSL competition, but it was like, these guys are good, man. They're no joke.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw a little bit from it, and it would be a waste of talent if that's really what they did. But also making a statement like that might just be even more powerful. So, or having more lasting effects. So who really knows? But I'm pretty sure that some of the teams that placed in that event also qualify for Worlds as well. So if that's the case, from what I've heard, then that would mean that those two would have qualified for Worlds. But, are they actually going to quit? Or are they going to give it a try? So that's where, they get to put their money where their mouth is. Is this clip just going to be a meme? What is it really? But, I mean, hey, they seem pretty genuine,
They did, yeah.
And it sounded like passion. It sounded like a lot of frustration, too, in that voice, too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could just show up for Worlds too, right? If you have the invite, like, why not go? You get paid even for coming in last place, and you get the all expenses trip to New York. Like, it's not a bad gig to just go, even if you're not playing that much anymore by the time Worlds rolls around. Yep. Obviously there's a new season, so who knows what the meta will look like. Hopefully, this season ends a week tomorrow.
I think you're right.
So, there'll be about a week or two of downtime like there usually is, and then there'll be a new season. So hopefully Epic will have heard everything loud and clear. But I did see a post of them saying that siphoning is not going back into regular play. They didn't like it, which is too bad, honestly. But what can you do, right? Just get rid of the baller and we're okay.
I have a lot more fun playing Arena just because it's you spend more time playing and less time micromanaging inventory and drinking minis and wrapping bandages. And it's like, man, sometimes when I'm playing a normal solo, I'm like, the gameplay feels so slow. Unfortunately, compared one now that we've had our taste of the siphon. I mean, at least even compromise, make it a 25. Like some semblance of an HP boost per kill is definitely it's just so much more helpful. I mean, I've come out of a lot of fights with 10 or less HP, and man, that little boost helps so much more.
Yeah, definitely. I think it goes back to what we were saying though about the different communities, the different goals for the game. Like, obviously there's a huge competitive community, and that's who we're primarily speaking to. But there's a lot of players who don't care about that at all. They just want to hop on, have some fun with their friends, and if they feel like they're just getting rushed every 10 seconds, they can't get out of the first landing spot, they're just dying instantly. Like, that's just not that fun for them, right? So
yeah,
I understand both. I understand both sides for sure. It's just, how do you get that balance right? And again, like, the devs seem to have enough on their plate, so I don't envy their jobs.
Yeah.
Wish you all the best, but don't want to be you.
For sure.
All right. So with that being said, for one, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. We will get to them after the clips of the week. And we also have our giveaway has wrapped up. So we're going to do another giveaway next week. So this week there's not much going on, but we're going to launch another one next week. So stay tuned to that. Make sure you follow Trooper, myself, and Tilted Talk so that you can get all the info on that once that comes out. At Tilted Talk Show is the Twitter handle. And subscribe to this channel, all that good stuff, guys. Come on. But until then, we will announce the giveaway winners at the end of the show. But right now, clips of the week.
Let's do it.
Dun, 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 dun. Cue it up here.
All right, so we got 4 clips this week, it looks like.
Yes, we do. Because that's all that Twitter allows us to do in a poll. So we run 4. Because we would run 5, then somebody just said you can't vote on somebody, which would just be unfortunate. Then they would just automatically lose. We should just do like a 5th honorary clip. There was a clip that was really popular on Reddit of this guy who just got like charged by a team and just hid.
Really?
Yeah, he just like literally hid like on one of those like grassy steps. He just like crouched into the corner and like put himself facing down, and the whole team just ran over top of him. Had no idea.
I
he was
remember
there.
seeing that.
That was.
I
I
definitely remember
almost
seeing-
included that this week, but I'm like, he didn't get any kills. He didn't do anything. So I understand why. Like, I mean, I guess it's my decision, so I definitely understand why I did that. But anyway, so clip number one.
I do love a good stealth play.
Oh yeah, no, it was definitely worthy of an honorary mention. If you guys haven't checked it out, go check it out on Reddit. It's really, really good. Anyway, clip number one, Nasty with a Z. Told you guys, reading is hard. So this is an end game clip. Yep.
Already looking good with the balloon on the back and no HP. He is in the driver's seat, clearly.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got his back against the wall here, to say the very least.
Whoa!
So the game ended on a geezer.
Oh no!
Which
no!
I just found to be hilarious. You see, he decides he wants to get down onto the ground earlier than other people. He wants his chance to use that gun, rather than kind of having other players.
Oh my god!
1,
Oh my god!
2.
And what are you
3?
supposed to do if you're in the sky? Like, you can only go where the cylinder is of the storm.
Right.
Like, you're screwed.
You're done. Which is why I
Oh,
think he
man.
won the game right here when he just died.
Drove
He's
straight
like,
down.
you know what? Screw you guys. I'm getting to the ground.
What timing, man? Oh my god! Sometimes
Sweet.
it makes you wonder that those end circles have a mind of their own.
Yeah, for real. Right?
Like how if I believe I heard on the cast in one of the recent qualifiers that if the final circle can go over a mountain, it will.
yes,
It will mess everybody up.
It's kind of true. I mean, and you know what? I kind of like that because it forces you to like you can't just run on the ground. Like you actually have to know how to
Right.
build and get
You have
around it.
to-
and
It's all about your awareness.
Right, that as well. So I'm a big fan of that. But yeah, I thought that clip was absolutely hilarious. The geezer kind of just shot everybody up into the air. I'm not even sure if they were aware of it because obviously at the end of the game, you're just so focused on building and staying alive, right? Like you saw him there, and then you just get hit by this geezer, and you're like, okay, I guess I'm flying up into the air now. But yeah, guys, remember to vote 1, 2, 3, or 4 in chat. So that was clip number 1. Geezer end circle, clip number 1. Easy way to remember. Also, you can vote on Twitter every week before the show actually goes live. Clip number 2 is actually from a viewer. This got submitted directly to us, which was awesome.
Nice.
So Vainless Fortnite. Another win clip.
I didn't mean to do that.
I like the win clips, man.
No, the clips that the clips that end with the victory royales are always the best.
Yeah.
Got to end the game with some style points, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep, definitely. So you see him up there. They've got the high ground. This is a duos game. They've got up top. They knew one of the guys fell down there, and look at this. He messes up his build, but he hits the tree.
Oh.
He hits the tree. And then some
Damn.
beautiful shotgun shots.
Sliding
Cinch
all the
top.
way down the tree.
Right? Like,
Look at that.
so in this game, the tree was actually the real MVP. I don't know if you guys know, but God bless
Wow.
Mother Nature.
That's pretty amazing.
And that shot was nasty.
And that guy that he killed at the end, he definitely lost track of where he was. He couldn't
yeah.
figure out that he was sliding down from that tree. He saved all, because he can't build when he dropped. He was actually going to die most likely from that.
100%.
I think, that's 100%. That's a fall that will kill you.
Yep.
That's insane. And he took no damage from that either.
Nope.
That's all it takes is your character just clipping just enough to clip something to restart your fall. Essentially, you could fall as far a lot farther than you may think.
Yeah, definitely. But a little bit of dumb luck and a little bit of skill that once he realized he was not going to be able to build, that he did kind of angle himself into that tree, hit that, and made sure that he landed and was able to win the game. Otherwise, it would have been up to his duo partner. And, that's we saw there, 334 points or so. So that's decently up there. You're starting to, he's not playing potatoes.
I remember back seeing that clip just takes me back to like one of the early days of Fortnite where if you guys don't remember, the fall damage was abysmal, where you couldn't even slide down like the sides of the angled mountains like you could now. Like you would take fall damage really harshly too on those. Like you had to build to traverse everything. So seeing that is, man, that's how you know that we've come a long way.
Oh yeah, definitely. The physics in this game have gotten so much better. It's not even comparable really. But yeah, that's clip number 2. So the tree coming in, clip number 2, Geezer, clip number 1. Remember, just type 1, 2, 3, or 4 in the chat for the for who you think should win. Now number 3 is a long clip. I'm not gonna lie. This is a long succession, but this guy went so hard that when I saw this, I'm like, this guy has to be in clips of the week. Like, this is just absolutely disgusting. So Hypnosis, we've got your clip queued up and ready to go. So also, this guy might be the best SMG player I've ever seen. I'm just gonna say that now. Like, misses with the assault rifle. Oh, guess what? I got an SMG. No problem.
Okay, let's see here.
So we're at 2 kills, I think, right now, right? Yeah, 2 kills. Just count how many this guy gets in such a short period of time. And again, this is the beginning of the game. So yeah, obviously it's Tilted. It's a populated area, but he's like, I want all of Tilted to myself.
Okay.
And he even did us the
Wow,
favor of speeding up.
I was gonna say he ate one of those peppers, man. Look at him running around now. It's crazy. I didn't know they had those spawning there at Tilted. Okay, let's see. Let's see who else is the next victim here. Oh, nice. I like the shoot and then putting the floor down. It's got a lot of smarts.
Like, his building is just insane too.
Just overtaking, just covering the area with ceilings. So the guy he has full control pretty much over the builds. That's amazing. This guy's still going. Oh my God, dude.
Yet.
Oh, now he's inside. Oh, he's in the pyramid. No. Oh my God. Dude, what is he on console or Xbox? Because I feel like he stopped to record that. Oh,
that's a mouse and keyboard, my friend. That is a mouse and keyboard. You might have some capture cards, like even the internal ones, have like the record like past, so you don't have to keep recording the entire time, right? You can record like the last 2 minutes or something.
I wonder if that guy lost track of him when he went under that cone.
I think he might have, but that was just a disgusting play. I mean, for me,
it was the gift that kept on giving.
Yeah, he just kept coming, kept getting kills. I think when I was all said and done, he got like 5 or 6 kills, like just in a minute. Like just killed everybody. And some of that building was so impressive. His shot accuracy was fantastic. So shout out to him, man. That was a crazy, crazy clip. Super, super impressive. Clip number 4, the last one, King Danilo.
More Tilted action. Okay, so we know we're in for something good.
Ooh. Couple of snipes.
Okay.
Sees the one, and again, he also fast forwarded for us. So what a guy. Sees this guy over here, and
oh no! Oh, you didn't.
And I love the name of his clip. He's like, "Why have a shotgun when you have a heavy sniper?"
Oh my God!
The no scope. Just absolutely disgusting. And I think he hits this one too. Yep.
Stop! What are you doing, maniac?
This guy's just sniper goad. And he throws in,
that's proof right there exactly why so many competitive players hate that weapon.
Yep.
That thing is filthy if you know how to use that.
Yep.
Now, I've done that shot that he just did right there, but it was accidental when I thought I had my shotgun out. So I felt super cool when I did it, but my reaction didn't match with the coolness. I freaked out in surprise, but that guy, that was pure skill right there. He knew exactly what he was doing.
Oh yeah, definitely. He was clip hunting there, and he got the clip.
Man, that's tough. That's tough.
Yeah, it's a tough one this week, man. I found some good clips. Of course, Spaceman with the number 6 in the chat. God bless.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, or 4, Spaceman.
I gotta go with 1. Gotta give big shout out to Vanless by the way, for the user submission.
Yes. We actually got one more, but I couldn't pull it off the Twitter DM that it got sent to me, and it was really nice too. So maybe that'll be in
next week.
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe we can.
Maybe we can get an extra MP4 for that. If I gotta vote this week though, I mean that sniper clip was dirty, but I mean Synopsis though, he went on a tear. He was on a little bit of a tear on his clip. I think that one might have been my favorite.
Number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me it was a toss up between 3 and 4. I kind of just flipped a coin. I gave 3 heads, 4 tails, landed on heads. So I voted for 3 as well. Let us see what the people.
I see a vote for number 1. Can I get a refresher? What was E-Nasty's again?
That was the Geezer.
Okay. Is it Geezer or is it Geyser?
Geyser? I don't know. Geezer.
Geezer is an old person. Yeah.
Geyser. Okay, so apparently I can't pronounce things either. It's not just reading that's difficult. It's also just speaking in general. I should probably change my profession at this point.
Math is hard. Words are hard.
Everything is hard, man. Why can't life be
Fortnite
easy?
is hard.
Fortnite is really hard.
And
This
that
is
was
number one.
you know what? Oh man, that's a good clip too because just the luck, the bad luck, and then the good luck that you have to have like so quickly for that.
Yep. And just the reaction time, right? To realize, like, I'm not going to win this. I have so little health unless I go down. Actually, Vainless pulls it out.
I love
So
that.
clip number 2, our user submission clip is the one that wins. Guys, how awesome is that?
Give a little
So,
golf
hey,
clap. Little golf clap.
very quiet, see? But yeah, like I mentioned last week, and I'll mention again this week, guys, we are going to be doing a clip of the season in a couple weeks. So you definitely want to make sure that you are submitting your clips if you want to have a chance to win that. So let's again watch Vainless really quick.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I am too. That's going to be crazy. There's a lot of great clips. So,
Vainless is so resourceful. He used the wood from the tree without mining the wood to get himself down from that waterfall. That was
Right?
beautiful. That's how resourceful that man is. He's like, I have perfected building. I can just use the nature to my advantage. I don't need to mine the material. I love this man.
Yeah, it's like mining. That's a whole extra step. Why would you do that? That doesn't seem like it's very. Like,
He is
that seems like
changing the
good
meta.
investment of time.
Yeah, just completely changing the meta. Gotta love it.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of this clip. This was awesome. All the clips this week, honestly, were really good. That's been the problem every week. It's like some of these, we always have so many clips that are like really, really elite, and you're like, well, how do I pick? How do I pick which one of these is the clip to pick to win? It's like they're all amazing. I couldn't do any of them. So, shout out to Vainless and his duo partner. Unfortunately, I didn't read his duo partner's name, but Vainless was the one who got both of the last kills, so he secured that dub for them. And he's also a viewer. So remember, guys, if you want to have your clips featured, all you have to do is send us your clips. Either, send them to @TiltedTalkShow, send them to myself, to Throoper, or you can post them in our Discord. So we actually have a channel in our Discord that's just for that now. So I believe the Discord link is on the bottom of the screen. If not, we will post it on Twitter, or you can find it from us. Just DM either of us, and it's in chat now as well. So shout out to our production team for being on the ball. Anyway, with that being said, before we get to the questions, because we did have at least one question that came in via Twitter, we did a giveaway. So we have 3 $10 V-Buck cards. So how this is going to work, guys, is because there actually are no V-Buck cards. That's not a thing. So we're going to contact you. We're going to ask you what platform you play on, and we'll give you either an Xbox Store $10 card, a PlayStation Store $10 card. Man, words are hard. Or we will give you a $10 prepaid Visa if you're on the PC. But with that being said, we have Rusty 2805, Curic Pineapple, and Hasha Javier. So I have all 3 of your emails here. I will be sending you guys an email, figuring out, how you want to receive that. Probably what we'll do is we'll just email you the code. We'll just buy them, and we do need to figure out where you live so that at least like the country you live in, so we can make sure it's the right code and it'll actually work when it goes to you. So you do have to respond to the email that I send you. But congratulations on winning our very first giveaway. We are going to be doing another giveaway, like I said, in a couple weeks. I think we're going to be giving away a gaming mouse.
Nice.
Stay tuned.
What kind of mouse? Exactly.
I haven't gotten that far yet. You're asking questions I don't have answers to, Tyler.
Okay.
I know.
Fair enough.
I know. But yeah. So next up, the questions. Questions. First, let's start with the one from the chat. So we got one from Spaceman. He's our brother here. He was casting at that CSL event. Phenomenal caster. So if you guys haven't listened to him or checked him out, you definitely should. Actually, never mind. We're going to start with the Twitter question. Then we'll get to Spaceman. Pull that back up. Pull that back up. Sorry, production. I didn't see that. I know I'm making your life really hard. Don't hate me right now. Okay, so as we march forward into week 4 of the World Cup qualifiers, what do we think of the increasing allegations of cheating and collusion amongst the pro scene, and specifically with those who have qualified? More specifically, the XXIF situation. Would love to hear our take. Now, I actually did kind of familiarize. Wow, words are really hard today. Myself with this situation.
It's okay. He's Canadian. They don't speak English there.
Yeah, we speak a different language, guys. Don't you know that? But he actually did post a response to it. So actually, let me see if I can pull that up for you guys.
Yeah, he said I did it, and what are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, so I will read it for you. I will also send it to production so it can go up on screen for you guys as well. Oh, that's not the right chat. That's the right chat. Okay, so, but let me give this a read for you guys so you can hear Rise's response, and then we will weigh in. So he said, "This is my response to the false allegations of me cheating during the World Cup." So automatically within the first sentence, he's denying it. He said, "Yes, I know who Bad and Wuji is. I'm going to correct his grammar for him. But I also know half the people playing in the qualifiers." And this is, again, what we were talking about with the high-level players. They all know each other, right? "I'm bound to run into people that I know or have played against before. I had no idea he was going to land there and have no control over where he chooses to land. But in 1 out of the 10 games I played, he chose to land in the same spot as me. And according to this video, Wuji didn't see the pump, went for the duels, and got into my line of sight. He tried to pump me, but due to a looting and pickup bug, he failed to grab the gun, and I was able to finish the kill. Couldn't speak for the second guys. I was never land on 2 people fighting. It's just something I can't comprehend or put reasoning to." And for the people saying Getsy is my friend and I'm good friends with him, I'm not. Getsy did during the World Cup qualifiers. His actions have nothing to do with me. He's a 14-year-old who has seen me play at Toronto Lands. I'm 22. Getsy landing on me is as good as any fan landing on their favorite streamer or pro player. I'm innocent and will leave it up to Epic Games to review the situation. So I think that was a pretty measured response. He responded to the major allegations against him, but didn't get, overly emotional, anything like that.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, obviously, like, here's the thing, guys. At this top level, everybody does know everybody, especially within a region, right? They're playing customs to practice with each other. It's like any pro scene. I mean, take the Gears tournament that you were just at, Tyler. Those pros, I'm willing to bet, you can tell me if I'm right or wrong, I'm not a Gears guy, but I'm willing to bet when their teams aren't on, they play Gears with each other. And they set up custom games to play against each other all the time. A lot of them are probably friends outside of the game and in the game, even though they're not on the exact same team, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is just an esports thing. That doesn't mean that when the money's on the line, they're going to try and collude or do any worse. Yeah. Now, obviously, we have seen situations like this happen in the past in esports. There have been, there was like, what year was it? The Halo 2 FFA. So this must have been like 2006 or something. Okay. I'm dating myself here, guys. But
good old days. I like that.
Where we did see like a bunch of the pros like feed kills to one pro so that Mad Max, the one Canadian, didn't get to place. Still salty. The North still remembers me. But so it has happened in the past. But the reality is that there was a lot less money on the line. Things were a lot less professional than they are today. Personally, I don't think that this is what people are making it out to be. I think that, like he said, landed on a friend. There are lots of, picking up guns in battle royale games can be an absolute nightmare. You're like holding the button and it just doesn't pick up. You're not looking right at it. There's a whole lot of things that could explain this. And again, I always go for the simplest answer, and I go for, like I said, unless the evidence is absolutely overwhelming, I'm never quick to prescribe malicious intent. Yeah. Because I just don't think that that's, unless you have a mountain of evidence where you can go with 100% certainty, this is what happened, there was cheating. It's too difficult. It's too difficult to do that, in my opinion. So I'm personally going to defend my Canadian compadre here and say that I think that this was just, maybe some situations that didn't look the greatest to just the casual observer, but I think that overall it was fair game and that nothing bad happened here. What are your thoughts?
I think his response was very genuine. He didn't, like you said, it was very, forthright. It didn't have anything like it wasn't full of any convincing statements where it's like, if anybody wants to know like how you could spot or not necessarily somebody lying, but somebody that might be trying to BS you, if you accuse them of something and they say something along the lines of, "Oh, I wouldn't do that. You know me. I wouldn't do that. I've competed in all these things before. Why would I do something like," when somebody does something like that, then they're trying to, it's a convincing statement. They're trying to convince you why you should believe them. Right. Instead of just stating the facts, where I didn't do this, yes, we've competed together, but that doesn't, or that we've played in the same events doesn't mean that we're friends, that we've colluded. I can't say for certainty that he did do anything malicious. The only reason I say that is because the worst possible thing that could happen is we accuse the guy and we're all wrong. The worst possible thing. Would not want to ruin the dude's career because of something like that. And
absolutely not.
now and the reason that I don't want to be jumped to. Well, I don't want to be like jumping to defend it, but the worst, I think it's way worse to accuse right off the bat. You need to look at all the facts. And with the amount of bugs that are coming out that people are complaining about, that definitely definitely plays into it as a factor. Now, because he did mention that he didn't see that pump. Now, when I watched the clip back, for those that didn't see it, the guys that he did fight, I think it was one of those pirate camp things on the side of the volcano. The guys looked like absolute bots. They looked like they shouldn't have been there, and it looked really suspicious. But the reason I thought that was because the guy runs right past the purple pump, which I was like, huh? And then he pickaxed, swung his pickaxe at the treasure chest that was there, and then didn't open the treasure chest, and then turned around and then got pumped in the face. Now, my whole thing was, it is absolutely plausible that he didn't see that pump on the ground, because there are a lot of times where there's a gun on the ground or bandages or something that I don't see, and then it won't pop up for me for like 5 seconds. That's and if you look at it with your aimer, you will see it's there. Like, it'll tell you can pick it up, but it's invisible. Yeah. So that could absolutely be the case in that scenario. Although, when you're a player that is in the World Cup qualifiers and you land at a spot, I don't know how somebody can get to that level where they're so scatterbrained, where their very, very, very first drop, they pickaxed a treasure chest and didn't open it. Like, he literally didn't even open it. He pickaxed it and turned away from it. Like,
yeah, it did look weird.
It looked so weird, and almost to the point where if they were trying to, like, maybe. So all right. So here, all right. Let me stop right there. Was this the first week that we were able to watch replays?
I believe we had them from last week as well.
Last week, too?
Okay. Yeah, I believe so. I might be wrong about that, though. I know for a fact that this week we can. So, I mean, maybe this has been going on.
Because this sounds like did they? I don't know, because I feel like it was the way that the player acted. That is way. It's almost like he played or like reacted to that situation so badly to where like he couldn't be faking it, because it would be so obvious that he was trying not to kill him and get killed himself. But at the same time, like, I don't know, maybe they figured, oh, as long as I land here and just move around a little bit, it's no big deal. But now that we can see everybody's VOD, that kind of makes things a little bit different. And now that was just announced last week. So I wonder if this was something that maybe they didn't take into account for, that we could all see their VODs, maybe, from all their angles. But you did say that you can't see people's VODs from, like, unless they're in there for 10 minutes. So I think it was just his point of view.
Yeah, we can't see the guy who he killed's point of view.
And then whoever's in the replay region, I believe.
Right. Yeah. So here's the thing: is it's like, was he lagging? Possibly.
That's another thing. He could have been lagging terribly.
Was he just?
Because the replay. Even Epic said that the replay system is not an accurate depiction of what you actually saw in the game. Like, when people like that whole adage, when people would like go into the replay system and then freeze frame, like when their shot was on their head and they're like, oh, I didn't, why didn't this hit? It's because it didn't hit. The replay system might have showed that, but it's a latency thing. Like, it might have just been a little bit off. It wasn't 100% accurate. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that come into it, and it really does make for a weird situation. And if anything, it just puts a magnifying glass on Epic, because now the fact is that if people are even thinking that this could be a possibility, how many other people have either attempted or tried this and maybe, just maybe, haven't gotten caught yet?
Yeah, definitely. I think the point you made, though, about them it being really, really weird looking, though, is a great point, because for me, it's like you said, if you're going to do this, you kind of at least, maybe you pick up the gun and you shoot around him, like you shoot like to the side, you try and at least make it look somewhat legitimate, right? So to me, like I said, I'm always prone to go with the simplest explanation. The simplest explanation for me is that, the player was lagging, there was some sort of bug, maybe he was super tilted already for whatever reason, we don't know, and he was just in a bad mood. Like, there's a bunch of different things that we could go to that we'd have to conclusively cross off before we get to this guy was undoubtedly cheating. And like you said, I mean, this is a tenet of Western civilization. We presume innocence until we can prove without a shadow of a doubt that they are guilty.
Yeah.
So until that point, it's like,
hey, when I'm looting quickly, I'll accidentally pickaxe an ammo box or a door or a chest when I accidentally go to hit X or open it. Sorry, I play on a controller, but everyone's like, "Ew, X, ew, no." What is he talking about? No. So I've done it. But when I do that, like immediately after, within the same second, then I'm opening up the box or I'm opening the door. He whacked that thing and then turned away and then went towards the opponent with no weapon. So you had to be lagging pretty poorly to have your guy, act that way. I mean, it is just such a murky situation.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal. It's definitely not what Epic wants to see.
And it's really unfortunate that this is a player that's sponsored by Rise, and Rise is a pretty prominent esports organization too, so that doesn't reflect well on them. But great. So, like, at this point, it's a good thing that no one's jumped to conclusions, that Rise didn't be like, "Oh, we're dropping you." Thankfully for that, just because I would like to see if there's a further investigation from Epic and see what comes out of it.
I'm sure they will. Until that happens, I'm going to go on the side of innocence until it's conclusively stated this is the evidence we have. Blah blah blah. We can lay it all out for you. These guys were definitely colluding. Like, until that happens. Mm-hmm. Well, I think, like you said, his explanation makes enough sense. By the way, did you watch the Joe Rogan with Dr. Phil? Because your whole explanation for why he wasn't lying is exactly what Dr. Phil says about liars.
I have seen that. I know what you're talking about. But there's also a book that I've read actually too, that teaches you all about lie detection and all that stuff too. So there's a lot of elements to it.
Okay, I knew that sounded familiar. I was like, man, if this guy hasn't watched that episode, I'm going to be very, very surprised. All right, but so hopefully that was.
In case you guys don't know who Dr. Phil is, got him queued right up.
We have the best production team in esports. I don't care what anybody says. God bless. Oh man. Okay, but so hopefully that was a good enough answer for you there. Those are our thoughts on it. So, thank you so much for asking the question. And guys, if you want your questions answered next week, just send them to us on Twitter. But we do have one more from Spaceman, the one that I promised we would get to first, and then things went weird. Anyway, here we are. So he wants to know, looking at the collegiate players calling out Epic for their mistakes, the thing we were talking about earlier with those guys quitting, do more influencers or competitors need to be more vocal at events for changes to come? I don't know about this, because personally, I think that influencers and competitors and big streamers have been plenty vocal. Plenty. We've been hearing lots of these guys getting super upset about things. So here's the question directly on screen for you guys to see from our boy. He was casting at that CSL event, so he got to see it live. I'd love to hear his actual breakdown of how everybody reacted to that. That would be amazing. I'm gonna have to talk to him about that. We'll try to get him on next week. But my God, I mean, I think that there's been a lot of complaining, and I think so. Here's the thing: I think if you are going to do it, I like what those guys said. It was very candid. It was very honest. But I do think that when you're talking to developers in the game that they've worked so hard on, you have to be constructive in a way, right? You have to say you have to give them something to work with. Like saying I don't like what they're doing. That doesn't what don't you like? Can you explain? Can you elaborate? Now, I mean, obviously with the competitive community, I think it's fairly well known at this point. People don't like the ballers. They want Siphon in normal so that they can practice. They want dedicated practice servers, all that sort of stuff. But if you can at least give them some actionable steps and phrase things in a constructive way, I mean, just think about it. If somebody just comes up to you and goes, "Hey, that job you did, you suck. It sucked. You're trash." How likely are you to be like, "Thanks, bro, I'll consider that feedback"? Not at all likely. If somebody says, "Hey, man, this is great, but if you could just tweak this a little bit, you messed this up here a tiny bit, you need to fix this, something a little bit more nuanced," you're way more likely to take that feedback, take that criticism on board and actually implement it. Yeah. So I think, while I'm all for players speaking their minds, I think you do have to do so with a certain level of maturity and nuance and a little bit of intelligence. You have to play a little bit politically, right? You have to be smart about how you say these things. You just can't come out and crap all over something, especially when that thing is honestly what's getting you onto the stage in the first place and getting you some spotlight in the first place. So it's a balancing act. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, there's a time and a place for everything, and that is if you're watching from the outside, if you're a spectator and you're watching that event, that's the greatest possible thing that could have happened. Just for the entertainment value, just for the drama.
Right.
If you're within the community, like just for the memes, that was great. Now, if you're an actual developer, somebody who's serious, in the community, not so great. That's not something that you want to hear at the, with the winners of your championship, of your tournament. You're expecting them to, to help with the movement of the brand. And essentially these guys have to think about their own brand too. And clearly they're that passionate or they're that dumb that they would say something like that. And I only say that because I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And time heals all things, but that's not going to make you look good if you plan on getting into other games for other esports orgs and stuff like that. They're just going to think, oh, they're just going to be a loose cannon with things that they don't like, and they're just going to publicly, Twitter's one thing, but when they're on stage like that, and this is a production, there's money behind this, there's investors behind this too. This is like that's serious stuff too, and it's going to have a lot of frowns like towards these guys, a lot of like bad juju or bad vibes like towards them as far as how the developer end and how the orgs and the esports end might go. But I'm sure that's the thing. These guys, they took one for the team. If that's what you want to say, because how many other people would have loved to have been in their spot, but then really like let's even think how many people would have been like, yo, imagine how funny it would be if like we won and then we just like crapped all over the game, right? But then they won and they're like, oh, should we actually should we? Okay, yeah. Like how many people would actually like joke about that and then never follow through? These guys did actually follow through, which is pretty crazy. Like they got cojones for that, but that wasn't wise on their part. And like you said, there's times and place for everything like this. They could have I'm the only thing that I would say is in terms of a positive thing on it is that they kept it clean. They weren't like toxic crapping on the game. They just straight up said Epic's messing around and we don't like what they're doing and we're not having fun. They were just honest. So you really like I'm just trying to see it both sides to it, and they spoke their mind and that's straight up. So like you can't hate them for that. But I'd be shocked if they actually did retire. I'd be shocked if they didn't come back. But if they did qualify for Worlds, maybe they'll just play until then, and then I can see them being done after that. But man, they really took a risk doing that, and I guess we're gonna see if that pays off in some way.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have a lot to look forward to over the next couple of weeks with the changing of the season. So maybe a lot of these concerns that they're complaining about right now will be alleviated, right? Maybe some of these players might remove the baller. They might put they did say they're not putting Siphon back in, so I'm not holding my breath for that. But I'm pretty sure if I had to guess that the baller is going to get vaulted, just based on the overall feedback, I think they're going to vault it.
I mean, I would in that whole situation. I'd hate to be the interviewer out of the most, the most out of everybody.
Man, yeah, I feel for that guy, dude. Like my heart immediately went out to him. I'm like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry. I just want to give you a hug. Like he's like, nope. Like he's literally doing this. Like when you're doing this on stage, that is not.
Yep.
That's not where you want to be. That's
just
not where you want to be.
Immediately run the disclaimer at the bottom, like the thoughts and actions of our players do not particularly reflect our business, like all that stuff. So maybe they should have had that ready to go. But yeah. I don't know. It's it was rough. Brave souls.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, guys, we've been going for about an hour and 25 minutes now. We have no questions left. So if you want us to answer your questions next week, hit us up with those on Twitter. Hit us up with those in Discord. The Discord link is in the chat. And if you're watching this on YouTube, it's down here.
In that direction.
All right, guys. Well, that does it for another episode. If you have people you want us to see have on, tweet them at us and tweet them and tell them to come on the show. Until next time, later.
Peace.